Welcome to the Forever Cash Life Real Estate Investing Podcast with your hosts, Jack and Michelle Bosch. Together, let's uncover the secrets to building true wealth through real estate and living a purpose-driven life.
I have my good friend Trevor Mauch here on the line from Oregon. Trevor, hi, how are you?
Jack, man, thanks for the invite, dude. I'm pumped to be on here, and you and I connected about a month ago on our podcast.
Right.
So thank you.
We did, and we actually, I know Trevor for 10 years, about 10 years.
Yeah, it's probably 2008, 2009 is probably when we connected.
Exactly right. It's about 10, 11 years already. I literally remember when we started teaching our land profit generator method, we went to an event where there was a bunch of people that are kind of like in the gurus teaching kind of space, and Trevor at that time had some really cool websites that were generating him revenue through affiliate marketing. Is that right? And also you were a house flipper during that time somewhat, right?
Man, I've never flipped houses. I've wholesaled one property in my life.
Okay.
It was a mini storage, but I've been buying and holding rental property since I was 21 in college.
Okay, wonderful. So you've been in the real estate space. But the reason I brought Trevor on, because he's really a genius in the area of kind of like building brands, doing core values, running a really effective, good company. But what they're showing this in is in the company that you probably well know as On Carrot, and as of recently, under the name of Carrot.com, right? So I'm super excited about that. So Trevor, tell us a little bit about what Carrot does.
So Carrot is essentially, we help real estate investors and now real estate agents attract leads online, inbound leads, where people are actually going to Google or other resources like that. They're seeking out solutions to their problems, making a Google search, and then they end up finding you. And our websites are set up to convert a visitor into a lead at a really, really high rate. We've done over 1,000 split tests over the years, both with Carrot and before Carrot. And we just really have discovered with human psychology what makes people perform. So if you're to Google, sell my house fast, insert any city in the country, you're going to find between 2 and 6 Carrot websites controlling page one. And also, if you're to type up like sell my vacant land, you're going to find, I think a Carrot member has number 2 in Google for just general sell my vacant land, not even tied to a location. So we help you attract and convert visitors through inbound searches.
That is absolutely amazing. That is cool. So, and that is actually very relevant, because if you're listening to this podcast or watching this on YouTube because you're already following our land profit generator method, then that might be an cool addition to do, even if you already use our Investment Dominator website, because the Investment Dominator is designed to help you through the process of flipping land and then help you to sell the land. And this is designed to attract whatever you want. You can design it to attract seller leads, right? So over time, you don't have to send out as many letters anymore. You actually have people contact you directly, and that is really cool. And you said you have one guy that has number 2 ranked for just the term sell vacant land.
Just the term sell, and I was talking with him the other day. Sell vacant. Yeah, the other day he's like, dude, I'm ranking really well for this phrase. And I said, well, I looked it up just now. So sell vacant land, he's actually ranked number 1 in Google for sell vacant land. The funny thing is he's getting a bunch of land leads, and he goes, I'm not doing anything with them. So that's one thing that every single person listening to this, a quick tip is, there's so many real estate investors, guys and gals, who are getting land leads and they don't do anything with them. They're like, I don't know what to do with land. I don't know how to do it. And so that's a really good source, is just connect with wholesalers, house flippers, and go, hey, if you don't deal with land, send all the land leads to me, because oftentimes they don't do anything with them. And then you guys can partner on them in some way, shape, or form. But this guy gets dozens of seller leads every single week, all from Google searches, and doesn't do a thing with them. I'm like, man, I need to pair you up with Jack. I need to pair you up with someone.
Yeah, absolutely. Pair him up with us. And that is amazing. So it goes to show that technology is obviously evolving, and you have done an awesome job of getting in front of that technology and helping thousands of real estate flippers and real estate investors get both buyer and seller leads through your website. So tell us a little bit just about what does your typical customer do with the leads? How do you operate with you guys? Just tell us a little bit about just how Carrot works overall.
Yeah, for sure. So our typical customer right now, it's probably primarily the house flipper, the wholesaler, but we have a lot of people who are same thing, land. The website that's generating the most leads by volume right now is actually a land site on our system. But then we also have people who own or finance leads, rent to own, things like that. So at the end of the day, any type of lead you're looking to get online for a high margin business. We even have Carrot customers who they're crushing it with their investment side. And then Tyler Thompson from somewhere down south, he texted me, he's like, man, I just moved my contractor website over to you guys because the way the structure is set up, we make it really easy to launch a high converting website, which is going to convert a visitor to lead way higher than launching a GoDaddy site or a Wix site or Weebly site, or even trying to set up your own WordPress site or having someone do it for you. But the part that's exciting, Jack, is this: what we do with Carrot. I'm not in the business of Carrot because I want to push websites, right? I'm in the business of Carrot because I see where the flow of society is going on how to solve problems, and we all always have within 5 feet of us a cell phone. And what happens is whenever we have a problem, we're in Home Depot looking at flooring. I just renovated the flooring of one of my rental properties. It's actually a vacation home this last couple of months. I was in Home Depot standing in front of the flooring and basically was Google searching reviews on the products, right? I pick it up. I'm standing in front of the product in Home Depot, Google searching reviews on it. And what happens is land buyers, land sellers, house buyers, house sellers, tenants, everyone's going to Google to search these things. And so if I'm a house seller and I just inherited a house, I don't know what to do with it, I'm going to ask my warm network, the people right around me. Most of the time, they probably aren't going to know what to do. And then I'm going to go to Google. I'm going to type up something like how to sell my house quickly, Phoenix, sell my inherited house, Biloxi, whatever it is. And so that's where we see that increasing more and more. There's something I call the ebb and flow marketing. With outbound marketing, we tend to get where a marketing method gets used a lot, it gets saturated, the effectiveness of that goes down a little bit, and then some other marketing method comes around because it's not getting used as much as the other one. Then it gets saturated because everyone's using it, postcards, things like that, right? In the house side of things, land, it seems like that's not saturated, which is why you guys should be doing land. I mean, Jack tells me, and I hear from other people too, like, I'm not competing against anyone for this deal, so stay in land, guys. But the online side gets more and more every quarter. More and more people are using the internet to find solutions to their problems. So that's where we come in and help you attract those people and then convert them into a lead and do all kinds of cool stuff with content marketing on the back end.
We are going to talk today about entities and how you can use them best to protect you, as well as also what happens if you don't take care of them and if you don't do your annual meetings, and how you can protect yourself from that and make sure that what you built in your life is always safe. And our guest today is Wendy Byford. Hi, Wendy. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine. Thanks, Jack. Good to be with you.
So Wendy has been a long time, let's say we have been working with Wendy for a long time. Our very first LLCs that we set up in the United States were set up by them and by her and Gary Bauer and Wendy Byford from YourEntitySolution.com. And they have done just a phenomenal job in setting this all up. But more over the years, we have learned that you guys do much, much more than just entity setup. You really are in the peace of mind business, right?
Absolutely. You know, it's interesting that most people think that you file with the state, you get your piece of paper for your LLC, you run over to the IRS, you get your tax number, your EIN, and then you take those pieces of paper and you throw them in a drawer and you forget about it. You're safe, right? You're protected.
And you say it's not like that?
I wish it were. It would make life so much easier for everybody, but unfortunately, no. The thing about having an LLC is that, like anything else, there are certain things that you need to do. And they're not very difficult, but if you don't do them, then you run the risk of having your corporate veil pierced if you go into court. That means that essentially the judge is going to look at you and say, you're running this business just like a sole proprietor, just like a normal person. So I'm going to let this guy over here who's suing you get everything, personal and business, if he wins. And
so let's jump into that. So you've been doing this for a while right now, and let's just jump into a horror scenario. What's kind of the worst case scenario that can happen when somebody does not take care of their business? Let's say it's for a scenario somebody has like a nice house in their own name and perhaps a few nice cars and has a good paying job or so, or has a business, but then they have an LLC where they do some stuff and some business stuff and perhaps real estate investing, perhaps other stuff, perhaps even just as a professional doing work, and they don't take care of their stuff and they get involved in a lawsuit. So what you're saying is that that if they don't have their documentation properly updated, and not just an operating agreement and anything, but like annual, what all pieces do they have to have in place in order to be reasonably sure? Of course, there's no sure thing where the judge ultimately decides, but to be reasonably sure that nobody can go through, or in other words, explain the word that the LLC can be pierced. What does that mean?
Well, if you go into a court and the other side is suing you, they want to get not just what's inside that LLC. They want to get everything that you own. Let's face it. Let's say that you've got an LLC that has a small business, and the business is making a little bit of money, and maybe there's $10,000 in the LLC. Nobody really cares about the $10,000. They care about the house that you have and the car that you have and the savings that you have and your kids' college funds and all kinds of stuff that you've put aside over the years as you've been working that business, what you've done with that money, those investments that you've made. That's what they really want to go for. But in order to get to those assets, they have to do what's called pierce the veil. So think of your LLC as a box. It's a steel box. It's got really strong sides, and everything in the box is owned by the LLC. So that's your business and your LLC bank accounts and your phone and maybe your car and your client list and all of that stuff inside the box. That's all owned by the LLC. Everything else that you have outside the box is owned by you. Well, that attorney is going to look at that box and say, yeah, that's a bunch of nice stuff, but I really want this stuff over here that you've got. You know, like Jack's nice house and car and investments and all those wonderful things. So I'm going to have to punch a hole through the wall.
Don't give people any ideas. That's not talking about my stuff. We have the plus on top of it. We have a multi-layer protection with trust and irrevocable trust, and we're like, somebody would have to spend a fortune to get through to our stuff. So if they're possibly, if it's even possible, but yeah, go ahead. So
because you're doing things right, Jack, but most people don't. They've got this little LLC that they haven't been looking after, and what the attorney wants to do is he wants to punch a hole through that wall so that he can reach through the company wall, through that LLC, into all of the personal assets that are sitting outside of that box. That's what they want to do. It's called piercing your corporate veil. Now, how does the judge know that it's okay to allow that attorney to punch that hole through the wall? Well, the judge is going to look at how you're running your business. And what he's looking for is to see whether or not you're treating that business like a professional organization, separate and distinct from you, the owner, or are you treating it like it's all just you? So he's going to look at things like your financials. Did you bring in a shoebox full of receipts and a spreadsheet? Or did you bring in reports from financial accounting software, right? So did you have QuickBooks, or did you just scribble things on a piece of paper, throw it in a shoebox and bring it in? Did you have a separate bank account for your LLC? And do you make sure that you only pay business expenses for the LLC out of that bank account? Or did you commingle your funds? Did you maybe pay the rent on your car from that bank account? Did you maybe have a personal party with that bank account? They're going to look at all of these things to see just how professional and how strict you've been to make a determination whether or not that opposing attorney should be allowed to reach into your personal assets. So if they look at what you're doing and they say, well, you didn't document any of your decisions, you file your reports with the state late, you don't have reasonable financial software, so you can never tell what you're doing, you're kind of flying by the seat of your pants, you're doing all kinds of things that just show that you're making whatever decisions you want, whenever you want, for whatever is in your best interest, not in the company's best interests, then the judge is going to say, great, go ahead, pierce that corporate veil and get to all the assets. And so if that attorney wins and the judgment exceeds what your insurance will pay, because hopefully you've got business insurance, right? You're all smart people, so you know your insurance is your first line of support and your LLC walls are your second line. So you've got insurance for $500,000 and the judgment is $1 million, well, then that attorney is going to look at it and say, well, you've got $25,000 sitting in your LLC, but you've got a house worth $400,000. You've got a car for $30,000. You've got savings for $20,000. You've got a bank account for your children over here for another $10,000. We're going to go after all of that. So it doesn't make any sense not to do the few simple things that you need to do to look after that LLC so that you can walk into a court and say, Your Honor, I am running a professional business. Here are all the resolutions that document the important decisions that I've made over the years. Here is my accounting software reports that show that all of my financials are in good order. Here is my bank statements showing that I've never paid myself anything out of here except my payroll company has issued a W-2 to pay me, and here are my distributions, and everything is documented correctly in the financial software. Here's everything that you need to show that I am running a professional company.
Our guest today is Antoine Martel. How are you, Antoine?
Very good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. Did I pronounce your last name right?
Yep, it's good.
Okay. And I'm understanding what you guys do is turnkey investing.
Yep.
So turnkey, define the term turnkey for me.
Sure. So turnkey has a bunch of different variations, I guess you could say. For us, turnkey means you're buying a property that comes with tenants in place, that's fully renovated, and then we help you get financing, insurance. We help you, if you need an inspection done, we'll give you an inspector. So pretty much making it as easy as possible for somebody anywhere in the U.S. to buy a property in one of our markets, which is Memphis and Cleveland, and helping them with every person along the way. And everything is already built in, ready to go. So they don't need to go and look up reviews online or do their own research and spend any time researching people or building their team on the ground. The team comes with the property.
So they're basically buying a property with a tenant built in, property management built in. Mm-hmm. Do they need to qualify for their own financing?
So they can use their own lender. We recommend using our lender. Our lender just knows our process. They're going to be able to do things much faster. And they also really cut their fees are very low for us too. So it's like $500 bank fees as well. So they can go and use their own lender. They're still going to need to get approved for the financing. So that means 2 years of W-2 or 1099. 2 years of tax returns, really, and then a credit score over 700, and then $20,000 or more seasoned in their bank account.
Okay, very good. That's our very specific items right in the beginning. So now let's backtrack a little bit. So let's give us a little bit of the history of like, how many deals have you done? How did you get into that? How did you transition? How many deals do you do right now? Just give us a little bit background.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, so I'll just tell you my whole story from front to beginning.
Sure.
Beginning to end. Ahead. So, beginning till today, I guess, not the end. So I started investing in real estate about 4 or 5 years ago, while I was still in college, actually. So my brother took me and my dad to a real estate investing seminar. We went to the seminar, learned about flipping houses, investing in rental properties, apartment buildings, you name it. It was kind of a very macro view about real estate investing in general. And we learned about how people were flipping houses in California, what the numbers look like. And that was the most sexy thing for us, was flipping houses in California, of course. And, doing $1 million or $2 million deals was, and looking at the big numbers was really intriguing, right? When you first look at it. So we tried to do that for around 6 months and started making offers, did some marketing, trying to get off market deals. You name it, we did it here in California or try to do it. And after about 6 months, we realized we didn't have enough money. We didn't know enough people to make it profitable for us, or to make any sense to make a real business out of it, just with the lack of resources and knowledge that we had. And we had like 40 grand saved up. My dad had 40 grand saved up that he was willing to invest. And we were looking at the numbers for the deals here in California. And it was like, there's no way that we're going to make any good return on our, we're only putting 40 grand of skin in the game into these, $1 or $2 million deals. There's not much that we're really contributing. It's really just sweat equity. So we try to pivot into doing other stuff, which was, buying rental properties here in California, then started learning about landlord tenant laws and all that kind of stuff, and really expensive property taxes. And then around a year after that seminar, I started doing research and meeting up with people on bigger pockets who were investing out of state, and started seeing that people were, you could buy a house for 20 or 30 grand, renovate it for 20 or 30 grand, and then, refinance it, do a cash out refinance or sell it or whatever. And while I was at university, my last semester at university, I started researching markets out of state, and Memphis, Tennessee, after listening to a million podcasts, I realized that I took a bunch of metrics that a bunch of big investors were doing out of state, and I started looking for markets that really fit those metrics that they were talking about. I made a list of the top 50 markets in the US, and Memphis, Tennessee was top on that list. So I started researching markets. And
what are some of the criteria you used to determine that, and what based on what criteria is Memphis on the top?
Yes, good question. So the number one thing for me was the price to rent ratio. So really the 1% rule, which says that if you have like a home for $100,000, you want the rent to be 1% or greater per month. So right. You want the rent to be $1,000 a month or greater. So Memphis, Tennessee, as a whole, like as an entire market, beat the 1% rule, which was very rare if you look at many of the market. Like here in LA, $1 million home rents out for $5,000, $4,000. So that's 0.5%, right? Mm-hmm. So that was number one. And then many people throughout all those podcasts, population growth, job growth, major employers, diversity of workforce. Memphis didn't have much job growth or population growth. It was actually pretty stagnant, but they did have great major employers, FedEx headquarters there, Nike, Amazon. So with those, kind of looking at both of those things, it was like, great, it sounds like I can get into Memphis early because they don't have any job growth or population growth yet. I can grow a portfolio there and hopefully be up with the rise of the economy there. And that rise of the economy also came with like looking at the mayor, who they are, what have they done in the past, what is their plan and goals for Memphis as well. So doing a lot of research on a bunch of different markets about those kinds of things as well. And Memphis even had a really well set up what's called economic development committee, where they pretty much help businesses move to Memphis, Tennessee, and give them tax credits and advantages for moving to Memphis. So that was one of the big things why Memphis, Tennessee. And then started really just trying to build a team out of state while I was at my last semester there in university. Eventually I found a house, I found a property manager, I found a realtor, a contractor, and I bought a house for $40,000, renovated it for a couple $1,000, and then did a cash out refinance all in my last semester at university. And then, went back to my dad and said, hey, I can keep doing this after I graduate if you want me to, and keep growing the family portfolio. Instead of going and getting a job, which I didn't want to do.
What's your dad do? What does your dad do?
My dad was a project management consultant for like software implementation. So he was working at a pharmaceutical company and handling big projects and project management.
But not like much real estate experience.
No real estate experience. The only real estate experience was buying our house in the Bay Area in 2001. And then before that was he owned for a very small amount of time, like an 8-unit building back in Quebec, Canada, where he grew up when he was in college, when he was 20 years old.
Well, so at least the house in San Francisco in the Bay Area was a good timing.
Yeah. So we sold that house 2 years ago and then took all that equity and started, buying apartment buildings out of state now.
Wonderful.
Enjoyed this episode? Then make sure you like, subscribe, and post your comments and questions below the video. We're looking forward to hearing from you.